Yeah, my name is Jack. And first off, I want to thank the Westland Book Festival. I want to thank WFMC, and I want to thank Veronica for having me out here again to another fantastic collection of authors, books, and a great wealth of knowledge. To start my conversation about myself, I do a comic strip called Gulls, and I am from Newport, Oregon, and I now reside here in Portland. And I've been doing the comic for about a decade, and the best thing about doing a comic is that it keeps you young and it keeps you going, and it is always changing. So the comic I do is Gulls, and the latest book I've done is called Squawk Box, and it is available for purchase out front. And I've also done a record called Flocker Rocker, Garbage Day. So I've amassed my love of music and comics together. Enough about me, because what I want to talk about today is more about you and sharing my knowledge of things and practices that you can take with you and apply to your everyday life. And the title of my speech is called Branding Your Hobby Horse. And branding your hobby horse is in 5 disciplines. And discipline number 1 is all about setting your goals and setting your timeline. Discipline number 2 is about surrounding yourself with talent. Discipline number 3 is about keeping a journal. Discipline 4 is about branching out and standing out. And finally, discipline number 5 is practice. So discipline number 1, setting goals and timeline. The classic quote of a journey of 1,000 miles starts with 1 step. If you want to be a concert pianist, fantastic. What's your timeline? Hey, I want to sit in on the Organ Symphony this Saturday. Well, and this is day 1 of your training? Yeah, it is. Well, you might be setting yourself up for failure. So it is very important to set your goals and set your timeline. Number 2 is surrounding yourself with talent. What better way to learn about your craft with people that have already been there? You can see the burner on a stove is hot, but let somebody tell you that they've burned themselves so you don't burn yourself. The classic thought of, let the talents around you teach you where to go. Granted, you have to learn things in life firsthand. You can't tell your kids about a broken heart and say, hey, it'll be fine. The kid's gonna go, no, this is forever ending. This is the worst day, it'll never heal. Obviously, people who have been through the broken heart know it heals, know we are stronger for it. So there's elements of first experiences that you just have to go through. But it's those little things about surrounding yourself with talent that will keep driving you forward and not allow yourself to get sidetracked and allow yourself to get your wheels spinning in frustration. So enroll in classes, keep challenging yourself, because if it's too easy, if you go into a classroom and you already know everything, or you go into a classroom and you feel, I've got this is simple, it's not hard enough. You have to get a little uncomfortable. That's how you're going to learn the best. Number 3, I believe keeping a journal is the strongest element to everything in life. From history to the future, the journal is the constant conduit. It's a constant touchstone of life. How do we know where Lewis and Clark went? Journals. How do we know in the future? Captain Kirk. Stardate. Captain's log. It's the one thing that is a constant for everybody to learn from. Learn where you go from where you've been. A journal is a fantastic tool because it allows you to look back of where you've been, and it will allow you to find out where you're going. Your goals are going to be have a stronger success rate if you've written them down. I use a line-a-day journal just like this one. This one I love because it is set up to where it's not overly daunting. It's just enough to be a few lines of what happened in the daily events, and it's enough to trigger what you've done. So you could easily read back the format and see, what did I do last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? And the strength behind that journal will allow you to see your growth, chart your progress. The best quote about keeping a journal is my favorite, and it is, why go through life when you can grow through life? Question, is there anybody in this room that does not keep a journal? Do you not keep a journal? Right here. That's for you. You can take that with you.
Wow, okay. Thanks, man.
Yeah, definitely. So number 4 is branching out and standing out with your hobby. This, I feel, is probably the hardest one because it requires a little bit of self-confidence. It requires a little bit of, panache, moxie, because you have to be able to sell yourself. And that's what this author fair is kind of all about. It's about standing behind your work and being able to be somewhat of a commercial for your work. I think the strongest thing to come away from that is don't let what others think change what you think. If you stand behind your craft and stand behind what you believe in, whatever anybody else thinks, that's fine. Because if you do it for yourself, that's what really counts, and that's what's going to be the driving factor about what you do. My favorite thing about branching out and standing out is it's the free stuff. It's the stuff that will, what can you get for free? For example, any social media, any internet power, there's so many free sites, so many free avenues to express yourself. Those are all well and great. They get you out there. But my favorite is the power of the ask. Because if you want to show your art somewhere, collaborate with somebody, the power of the ask is the ultimate free way to get in there. Because what's the worst that can happen? They could say no. But if you don't ask, it's already a no. So I've been published. All the successes I've really gained on the work that I do is all on the power of the ask. It's free. And I've gotten more no's than yeses, but you know what? I have gotten yeses. So push yourself to ask. And finally, practice. Practice makes perfect. Getting out there and honing your craft and doing it over and over and over. Because practice is one of those things that it's on a grand scale. And sure, your focuses might change. You might be into pottery 1 year and 5 years later you're into horseback riding. My wife is a horseback rider and we end classes every week in Sauvie Island, and she'll tell me, that was a fantastic ride. You should have seen my canter. That was a horrible ride. The horse did whatever it wanted to do. The great thing about practice is it does this. But as long as you keep going forward, it'll always do this to a degree, and that's fine because you have checks and balances. And keeping that practice going will make you better because practice, it'll make you stand out better from number 4. Practice, you can see from your journal entries how much you've gained. Practice will make you the talent that beginners will surround yourself with. And practice will eventually solve your goals and achieve your goals. In closure, I want to quote my all-time favorite quote is by Bruce Lee, and it's about practice. And he said, "I do not fear the opponent that has practiced 10,000 kicks once. I fear the opponent that has practiced one kick 10,000 times." Thank you so much for sitting in. Thank you. Any questions? Anything going forward?
I favor the notion of Kaizen from the Japanese, continuous improvement.
Yes.
Very sound idea.
Yeah.
And I believe if we're not growing, we're dying.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And when Veronica asked me to do this, it was yes. Had I done a show like this? Sort of, but not to this degree. And I feel there's always a great sense of challenge and that kind of uncomfortable element that I talked about is great for growth, because she also said, oh, there's an opening for speaking, and I'm just like, okay, let's do this. Let's get uncomfortable. Let's do this. So, any chance to get a little, adrenaline running, get the stomach in knots is good. Yeah.
Did you start out with this philosophy, or did it develop as you worked and
Um,
to read your shirt?
it developed. I think my parents are nurturing to the effect of, if you believe in what you do, keep doing it. I did martial arts for many years, and that was a fantastic sport to teach yourself the self-discipline and to keep going and stay strong with what you believe in. The first comic was actually 10 years ago this summer, but of course, like any artist, started as early as you can remember. Luckily, my mother is a fantastic artist, and she does a lot of work for McMenamins and paints at a lot of their restaurants. And so she always had art stuff laying around. And it was great growing up on the Oregon coast because a small coastal town, if any of you have visited, there's not exactly a whole lot for a child to do. So you had to entertain yourself. And we grew up a lot of times not having television and not having, distractions, if you want to call them that, but you had to entertain yourself. And so my mom had the big easel out and painting, and I just, grabbed some paper and saw what she was doing, and let's go, let's start making stuff. And so luckily I was surrounded by like-minded friends who were silly and goofy like I was, and let's start drawing comics. So it's been fun. And kind of one more thing about, branching out, is I have done these signs that I've created, and they're of my characters. And this is kind of an element of standing out that is somewhat challenging for some, but try to think of things that other people aren't doing. Because the hole in the top is meant for a nail. And these are posted up on sign poles around Portland and in Newport. And there's a hashtag because Instagram is free. And you get people sharing this. And it turns into a scavenger hunt. There's 4 of these, 4 different designs around town. And I say, hey, if you post all 4, I'll send you a free book. So it's that interaction that I really enjoy. And I look back and go, if I could give out 1 million business cards or I can have one genuine conversation, I will take the genuine conversation any day of the week because it's that connection that you have to do. Yeah?
Have you run into any dangers or pitfalls with interacting with your fan base?
I have a little bit. The one thing you got to know is, if sometimes if you give them an inch, they'll take you a mile. So you definitely you have to be expecting, I would say, rough and tough, because the expectations are a little bit different when you get into elements of getting out there, because people are going to view your work differently than you're expecting them to. And that's also kind of the beauty of it too. Somebody will come up to your booth and go, oh, I love this. And then you kind of go, that's my least favorite work I'm doing right now. And that's fine because the world is a stage. So as far as pitfalls, the only pitfall really is people that are quick to judge and will go, that's horrible, I don't like that. And to me, I go, that's fine, it's not for you, it's for me. As long as it's for you first, you can't fail. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.